Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Travel Secrets with TV's Dave Galvin, the show where we peel back the velvet curtain on luxury travel and tell you what's really going on behind the infinity pools and champagne flutes. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Dave, you screwed up and you didn't give us an episode on Tuesday. And that is absolutely correct. I did not. Do you know why? Because I screwed up. So I have a trade show I'm doing on Sunday. And literally everything I've been doing for the last 2 months has been crescendoing up to this event. And now it's here. So I've actually got really busy and I wasn't able to put out an episode on Tuesday. So for that, I apologize. But for this episode on Thursday, we're going to give you an extra special topic. What do billionaires complain about on vacation? Okay, so you'd think that with private jets, penthouse suites, staff waiting on them like it's Downton Abbey, billionaires would actually be happy. And the spoiler alert is they're never happy. So let's talk about why and what it says about the way we all travel. So first off, the thing about billionaires is they don't complain about money. They complain about control. They're used to being the boss, running the companies, empires, sometimes even small countries. No joke. Sometimes even America, they're controlling. When they're traveling, they're suddenly at the mercy of air traffic controllers, the weather, resort schedules. That loss of control will drive them completely insane. Okay, so I had a client once. He was a tech guy. He was young. He was smart. He had no patience. Okay, so we got him a private jet, lands in the Maldives, and we're greeted by turquoise water so clear you can see the fish thinking. No joke. He steps off the plane, looks around and says, I kid you not, why is it so humid? You're literally standing on a tropical island, man. The humidity is the whole point. But that's how it starts. Billionaires complain when things are too slow. They complain when things are too fast. They complain when it's too quiet. Then they complain when there's too much noise. I once had a luxury resort manager tell me the richer the guest, the lower the tolerance for waiting. That's why when a normal person hears, we'll have your room ready in 15 minutes, they go grab a drink. When a billionaire hears that, they look at you like you just asked them to wait in line at the DMV. They've got the I'm too rich for this face, and you can spot it instantly. Okay, one of my favorite billionaire complaints is, why is everyone here on their honeymoon? I've heard that a few times. Some ultra wealthy, not affluent, I'm talking wealthy. Ultra wealthy travelers will book these romantic islands thinking they'll get some peace and quiet. And then they realize they're surrounded by hundreds of couples whispering, I love you everywhere. They wanted privacy, not passion everywhere they looked. So they call the travel planner, me, and ask if I can get them someplace a little less emotional. Sure thing, I'll just ask God and have him tone down the romance in Bora Bora. So another complaint is the Wi-Fi is too slow. Yes, in the middle of the Mediterranean on a yacht, and they're complaining because their Skylink isn't fast enough and their Netflix is buffering. Listen, I've had extremely affluent, extremely rich, extremely wealthy people drop a lot of money on week-long private island rentals, only to complain that they couldn't get the Zoom into a meeting working because the island doesn't have fiber optics. And they'll say things like, how do people live like this? And I'm all thinking, they don't, sir. You rented the whole island. Then there's the food complaints. Oh, this one's gold. Okay. When you've eaten at every Michelin star restaurant in the world, your taste buds get bored. So here's what happens. They start nitpicking like a food critic in witness protection. The truffle tastes less French. The caviar isn't cold enough. The mangoes here aren't very mango-y. All three of those are actually real. I've heard them. I didn't even know how to respond to any of those. I mean, what's the alternative, man? Unmango the mangoes? No, not all billionaire complaints are ridiculous. Some are just surprisingly human, just wrapped up in a suit and tie. You know, they'll say things like, I hate that people treat me differently when I travel. Or, I wish I could walk into a cafe and just be normal. Honestly, I kind of get it. When you've got money or power or fame, even a vacation becomes a performance. You can't fully relax when everyone's staring or posting photos of you eating croissant. That's why the ultra wealthy love places like New Zealand, anywhere they can vanish into nature. They're not exactly running away from the luxury, they're running away from the attention. Of course, there's still the absurd side. Let me tell you about the pillow incident. A certain relatively affluent person who may or may not own a company that takes people into space once asked a resort to fly in a specific type of pillow from a specific hotel in another country, because apparently no other pillow on Earth was suitable for sleep. The resort, terrified of bad press, did it. They literally chartered a plane for a pillow. And what happened when it arrived? He used it once and said, yeah, it doesn't feel the same. Well, of course it doesn't. The pillow's fine. It's the expectations that are out of control. Here's the truth. Billionaires don't complain because they're evil or spoiled. They complain because they've lost their sense of contrast. When everything in your life is extraordinary, nothing feels special anymore. It's like emotional inflation. There's too many experiences, too little satisfaction. That's why I always tell even my most wealthiest clients, the goal isn't luxury, the goal is more meaning. The best trips I've ever planned for anyone weren't about price tags, they were about the moments. Dinner in the desert, sunrise at the Amalfi Coast, a conversation with a local who didn't care who you are. That's what really sticks. So what do billionaires complain about on vacation? Everything and nothing. The Wi-Fi, the food, the humidity, other people. But deep down, they really complain about is just disconnection. They're surrounded by beauty, but they don't feel it anymore. And honestly, that's the most relatable complaint I've ever heard. Because whether you're staying at a 5-star resort or a roadside inn, we all want the same thing, to feel something real when we travel. All right, that's all for today's episode of Travel Secrets with TV's Dave Galvin. If you like this peek into billionaire breakdowns, make sure you hit the subscribe and leave a review. Tell one friend who always complains about hotel pillows, you know who they are. Next week, we're going to dive into 2 other topics, Tuesday and Thursday. I promise I'll even let you know how the trade show goes. Until then, keep it real, everybody. We'll see you on Tuesday.